Friends, this morning it is my great honor and delight to welcome Sean Pica to preach and share his story and the work that he does at Hudson Link. Sean is the president of Hudson Link, this amazing nonprofit organization that works with those who are in prison in Sing Sing and prisons across the state of New York. He is now helping other states across the country implement this model so that those who are incarcerated can earn college degrees. And it is a way to, Sean is a person and Hudson Link is an organization that is loving justice, seeking mercy, and walking humbly with God. And Christ's Church has been a longtime partner of Hudson Link, and we are so glad to welcome you back here today. Let's give him a warm Christ Church welcome.
Thank you. So my name is Sean. I'm the president of Hudson Link. We are bringing college degree-granting programming into 5 prisons in New York. It didn't start there. 30 years ago, I was just talking to Bruce and Connie. How was it 30 years ago? 30 years ago, there were programs like ours across the country. There was some legislative change, and they said you could have college in prison, you just can't have the funding for it. Don't laugh. It wasn't supposed to be funny. It went away overnight. There were 350 programs like ours across the country that disappeared overnight. I know because I was in one of them. 30 years ago, when that happened, I was in a maximum security prison. The teachers came in and took the books away and the supplies away without even telling us what was going on. Quite frankly, I'm one of 5 boys. I'm the only one that went to prison and the only one that went to college. It didn't seem like that big a deal. Was I ever really going to use college after 20 years in prison? No. That's what my mind was telling me. So it went away, and I moved to another prison. But when I got to the other prison, there were folks from this congregation that were meeting with the men that lived there, and the local chaplains, and the folks from local churches and synagogues that said, we will not let this happen. Since then, I spoke at the White House. I delivered services at the UN. I'm expanding these programming across the country. But none of that would have happened without this congregation and this church. How was that 30 years ago? It's just blowing my mind as I stand before you today, because I was like 11 when that started. All right, just test it if you're listening. When I got to prison, I was in the 9th grade. I was literally 2 inches shorter. I weighed 118 pounds. I still had braces on my teeth. I got to that cell block. Now, Sing Sing has the single largest cell block in the country. It's 5 stories high. It's 2 football fields long. And there's no officers in the cell block. So right away, 4 or 5 of the older guys came to my cell. Get up, get dressed. When the gate opens, if you don't step out, you don't eat. All right, I stepped out. I went with them to breakfast, and they were telling me, we've already signed you up for high school. This was not what I was expecting my first day in a cell block to be. They knew that I didn't finish high school, and they were making sure, and I remember like it was yesterday, pushing back. The only silver lining to be going to prison for 2 decades was I didn't have to fail high school. I have struggled academically my entire life. They said something that I'd never heard before. We'll do it with you. See, all the times I've struggled academically and teachers yelled at me and my parents said, why can't you do it? No one ever said, we could help you with it. So for the first time in my life, in a maximum security prison, guys met with me every day after their mandatory prison jobs. They had algebra books and math and science, and where they got all these red pens, I have no idea. Every day, marking up my stuff. I'm like, where are you? Is the warden helping? What's happening here? I'm not going to say how many times I took the high school test. Irrelevant. No, really, irrelevant. When I finally passed, the prison did this thing of caps and gowns and the other prisoners in the audience and cake and coffee. If I knew there was cake and coffee, I probably would have worked a little bit harder. But the thing that the guys said as they worked with me to prepare for this test, that no one does it alone. This is not a solo sport. We work together to get you ready to do this. And also, when you get your high school diploma, you work where we work. We live in a different part of the prison. We eat better. Like, it could be better. And I remember at the graduation getting into my cap and gown and the ed supervisor, the principal, putting a tie on me for the first time in my life. Embarrassingly, it was the first thing I had finished in my life. And it's moments like that that really kind of puts it to perspective. But I said to the principal, well, now I can work in the kitchen. And she said, well, you don't need a high school diploma to work in the kitchen. I was so angry. They had completely lied to me that I needed a high school diploma. But finishing that thing, being up on that stage, getting that scroll and graduating, it made me want to do more. And back then, you could do more. And I came home with a master's degree, which is kind of crazy. When I walked out that door, Bruce was the president. He cornered me at an event and said, we don't have a director. Would you consider being the first director ever? He was with the warden of Sing Sing and the commissioner of corrections. And I just kind of thought they were messing with me, like I had spent my whole life in prison. When I left Sing Sing, I had more time in prison than out. I had never paid taxes. I had never had a full-time job. I had a master's degree, but it didn't feel real to me because I had nothing to gauge it against. And I remember saying to the Commissioner of Corrections with Bruce, I'm honored and I would love this job, but I earn 18 cents an hour for half my physical life. We need to renegotiate my salary. And they did. And at that time, there were 66 students, one college provider, and one facility only serving men. Now, 19 years later, my math is terrible, 18, 19 years later, we're in 5 prisons. We're serving men and women. We have 4 award-winning documentaries. The last we're going to show here on March 24th. Keep it on your calendar. We have construction. We have a day's work for day's pay. We have a clothing store for the students. This has grown like I've never could have imagined. And it ends now with us helping 5 other states replicate. Because we've been helping states for free for years, and we just got a grant to get paid to do what we've already been doing, which is help other states get what we already had. And I will say, though it started 30 years ago, it started because some crazy congregations, that's you guys, have jumped into something that no one else wanted to do. My mom and dad were retired New York City cops. They were glad I'm staying positive while in prison, but they were a little offended that they spent their career putting people in prison that would then get a college degree. If my own parents thought it was not the right thing, how should I expect you to care that I have a second chance at life when I walk out of that place? And guess what? 30 years later, you're still doing it. Thank you is the best I can say, and we will be here at the coffee hour if you want to talk more about what we do. And on March 24th, we're going to show the new documentary with a talk back from our own students. Thank you, guys.
What a gift it is to hear from Sean, and as the new one around here, to hear of this church's, this congregation's long-standing involvement and commitment. It is such a beautiful reminder that we are not a church who just talks the talk, but we walk the walk and we support those who do. And what an incredible reminder, no matter where you find yourself this week, whether it's in school or at work or in the hallway or at home, little things. Like I think about those older men who saw Sean as someone to invest in prison. And they helped pave the way to make such a difference, not just for him, but for thousands of people. That's the kingdom, my friends, and what a gift that we get to be part of it. Thank you, Sean, for joining us, and thank you all for your faithfulness to this ministry. Our offering today the loose offering, so cash, or if you want to write a check to the church in the memo line, write Hudson Link. We will make sure all of that gets to them to continue to support their mission and ministry.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. We're glad to be part of it. So now, friends, let us stand as we are able. and affirm our faith in the God of love and mercy, who transforms and makes all things new through the words of the nice